They adjusted the camera angle before they released the Predator. That was the detail Commander Nathan Rowan noticed first. The framing was deliberate, wide enough to capture the arena floor, tight enough to show expression. The Dominion commentators had learned long ago that fear translated well across species. The arena lights flared white. A crowd of 70,000 alien spectators roared in layered frequencies that distorted the broadcast audio. Energy shields shimmered around the perimeter of the pit. Above it all, floating drones transmitted every movement in pristine clarity. In the center stood a human boy. 17 years old. Unarmed. His name was Elias Rowan. The announcer's voice rippled through the speakers with theatrical amusement. Today's exhibition specimen originates from the Sol system, a developing death-world civilization. Laughter followed. Elias did not look like a threat. He was barefoot, bruised. His hands trembled slightly, but he stood straight. Nathan leaned closer to the screen in his darkened apartment on Earth. He had been ordered not to watch. Earth's High Command classified the situation as sensitive diplomatic engagement. Nathan had commanded fleets during border disputes. He had de-escalated standoffs with species older than human civilization. But he could not de-escalate this. The Dominion called it cultural sport. A demonstration of superiority. They had seized Elias during a cargo inspection near disputed territory. The footage of the arrest was clean. Polite. Almost cordial. The arena footage was not. A gate at the far end of the pit opened. The Predator emerged slowly. 6 limbs. Lad bone plating. Engineered musculature designed for spectacle combat. Its claws dragged lightly across the arena floor, carving grooves into reinforced stone. The commentators chuckled. Observe how the Death Welder responds to apex dominance. Elias stepped backward. Not panicked. Calculating distance. Nathan's jaw tightened. The whistle sounded. The Predator lunged. Elias moved. Not fast enough to avoid entirely, but fast enough to survive the first strike. He rolled. Sand scattered. The crowd roared louder. Minute 1. Elias ran in arcs, forcing the creature to pivot. He used the arena walls to redirect momentum. He kept his breathing controlled. Nathan's military instincts overrode the horror for a moment. He saw what Elias was doing. Buying time. Minute 3. The Predator adapted. It feinted. Elias took a glancing hit across his shoulder. Blood darkened the sand. The commentator's tone shifted from amusement to curiosity. Unexpected durability. Nathan leaned forward slightly. Stay moving, he whispered to a screen that could not hear him. Minute 5. Elias was slowing. No weapon. No armor. No training for engineered warbeasts. But he was still standing. The crowd's laughter had faded. Now they watched. Minute 7. The Predator stopped chasing. It began herding. Cutting off escape angles. Forcing Elias toward the center of the arena. Nathan felt something inside his chest begin to compress, not panic. Recognition. This was no longer sport. It was inevitability. Minute 8. The Predator lunged with full commitment. The broadcast audio glitched for half a second. Then returned. The crowd laughed again. Nathan did not move. He did not shout. He did not break the screen. He watched until the arena lights dimmed and the commentators congratulated one another on another educational display. They replayed the final moment twice for emphasis. Nathan memorized everything. The VIP balcony. The Dominion officers leaning forward in entertained interest. Their insignias. Their rank markers. Their faces. One of them, High Strategist Varric Tolis, smiled openly. Nathan paused the broadcast on that frame. Zoomed in. Committed it to memory. Then he turned the screen off. The room went dark. Silence expanded slowly around him. For a long time, he stood without moving. Then he walked to his desk. Opened a secure channel. Commander Rowan, Earth Command answered cautiously. We advise restraint. Nathan's voice was steady. I am requesting authorization for diplomatic engagement. There was a pause. With the Dominion, the voice asked carefully. Yes. This situation is delicate. Nathan stared at the black screen. My son was taken under a flag of inspection. Then broadcast for entertainment. Another silence. What are your intentions, Commander? Nathan considered the question. He could have said justice. He could have said retaliation. Instead, he said, correction. Hours later, deep in Earth's orbital dockyards, a single cruiser detached from its moorings. Unremarkable hull. Standard armament. No visible fleet escort. Its designation transmitted clearly across open channels. ERV Resolute. Destination, Dominion Central Command Territory. Nathan stood alone on the bridge as the ship entered slipspace. An officer approached cautiously. Sir, should we notify Allied fleets? Nathan shook his head once. No. Are we preparing for combat? He looked at the distortion field forming ahead of them. No. The officer hesitated. Then what are we preparing for? Nathan's answer was calm. For them to understand what they started. Slipspace swallowed the ship in a ripple of blue light. Far behind them, the Dominion replayed arena highlights across their networks. They laughed. They toasted another successful exhibition. They did not know that somewhere between stars, a human had stopped grieving and started calculating. The Dominion did not scramble fighters when the human cruiser crossed their outer boundary. They scanned it, catalogued it, measured it against threat matrices. Single vessel. Standard weapons configuration. No escort signatures hiding in slipspace distortion. Low risk. The Dominion had crushed larger fleets. One ship was theater. The transmission arrived precisely 30 seconds after border confirmation. This is Commander Nathan Rowan of the Earth vessel Resolute. I request formal diplomatic audience regarding Dominion cultural practices. The phrasing was deliberate. Not accusation. Not threat. A request. High Strategist Varric Tolis reviewed the transmission personally from the Dominion Central War Complex, a vast circular structure orbiting their capital world. The chamber walls were layered with holographic battle maps and historical conquest records. Varric's mandibles flexed slightly in amusement. The father, he said quietly. Several officers shifted. Yes, strategist, one replied. The biological progenitor of the arena specimen. Varric leaned back in his command throne. Grant the request. An aide hesitated. Should we impose escort conditions? No, Varric answered. Let him arrive alone. The Dominion respected dominance displays. Letting the grieving father walk into their command center unarmed would reinforce hierarchy. It would also make for compelling internal record. The Resolute docked without resistance. No Dominion warships repositioned. No orbital cannons powered up. The docking clamps sealed with mechanical precision. Inside the human cruiser, Nathan adjusted his uniform jacket. Plain black. No medals. No ceremonial markings. Just the small Earth flag on his collar. An officer beside him swallowed. Sir, Dominion internal security protocols are active. We will not have extraction clearance. Nathan nodded once. I'm aware. Sir, with respect, this is not a negotiation. Nathan's voice remained even. I know. The airlock opened. Dominion guards waited, towering, armored, energy halberds humming faintly in their grasp. Their armor bore the insignia of arena command divisions. Nathan stepped forward without hesitation. They searched him. Thoroughly. They found no weapons. No explosives. No concealed tech beyond a standard diplomatic comband on his wrist. Proceed, one guard said. The Dominion War Complex was designed to intimidate. High ceilings. Cold metallic architecture. Strategic holograms projecting past victories in silent loops along corridor walls. Nathan walked through images of conquered worlds. Images of defeated species kneeling. One wall displayed the recent arena broadcast highlights. He did not look at it. He already knew every frame. The chamber doors opened. The war room. Circular. Tiered seating rising around a central tactical table. Fleet deployments shimmered in three-dimensional projection above it. At the highest tier sat Varric Tolis. And beside him, several officers Nathan recognized immediately. From the VIP balcony. From the broadcast. They recognized him too. Some shifted uncomfortably. Others watched with detached curiosity. Nathan stepped into the center of the chamber. No escort. No restraints. Just a single human surrounded by the military command structure of a galactic power. Varek's voice echoed across the chamber. Commander Rowan. You have traveled far for dialogue. Nathan inclined his head slightly. I appreciate the invitation. Murmurs rippled along the tiers. Varek gestured outward. You object to our traditions. Nathan met his gaze. I object to your assumptions. A pause. The chamber quieted slightly. Varek leaned forward. You misunderstand Dominion cultural hierarchy. The arena is demonstration. It establishes order. Nathan's eyes moved slowly across the room. Memorizing positions. Exit points. Command interfaces. He finally spoke. You selected a civilian miner during a border inspection. A legal acquisition, Varek corrected. You broadcast his death. A lawful spectacle. And you laughed. The words did not rise in volume. They did not need to. One officer bristled. This is emotional instability. Nathan turned his head toward him. No. The room felt colder suddenly. This is documentation. Varek studied him carefully now. You came here for revenge. Nathan shook his head once. No. Then what, Commander? Nathan stepped closer to the central tactical table. Dominion fleet positions rotated slowly above it. Carrier groups, planetary defense grids, weapons platforms. He studied the projection briefly. Then looked back up. I came here to understand your command structure. A few officers shifted. Varek's eyes narrowed. And now that you do. Nathan's voice remained steady. Now we begin. The words were quiet. But something in them unsettled the chamber. Varek gave a dismissive wave. Begin what? Nathan tapped the comband on his wrist once. Nothing exploded. No alarms blared. But one of the tactical displays flickered. Then another. An aide frowned and began typing rapidly. Varek's gaze sharpened. What did you bring into this chamber, Commander? Nathan did not smile. I brought patience. The holographic fleet map stuttered for half a second. Then resumed normal rotation. The aide looked up. Minor signal interference, strategist. Possibly external noise. Varek relaxed slightly. Nathan folded his hands calmly behind his back. Thank you for receiving me, he said evenly. You will find humanity far more educational than the arena. Varek's mandibles flexed again. Be careful, Commander. You are alone here. Nathan's eyes did not waver. No, he replied quietly. I'm exactly where I need to be. The chamber fell silent. Because for the first time, it did not feel like he had walked into their war room. It felt like he had chosen it. Outside, in deep orbit beyond Dominion sensors, a human relay buoy activated and began transmitting. The first system to go dark was not dramatic. It was subtle. A thin tactical overlay in the upper corner of the war room flickered, then froze. A junior Dominion officer frowned and adjusted his console. Minor dezinc, he muttered. Varek Tolis did not look concerned. Across the chamber floor, Commander Nathan Rowan stood motionless beneath the rotating projection of Dominion fleet formations. He wasn't watching the officers. He was listening. Timing. A second display flickered. Then a third. Data streams jittered by fractions of a second, barely noticeable unless you knew what synchronized military networks were supposed to feel like. Varek's voice cut across the chamber. Diagnostics. Multiple officers began inputting commands simultaneously. Their consoles responded, slowly. Latency spike detected. Source. Unknown. Nathan's posture did not change. You're experiencing external routing interference, he said calmly. Every eye in the chamber shifted toward him. Varek's mandibles tightened. You claim responsibility? I claim inevitability. A wall-sized projection of the Dominion outer defense grid blinked once. Then half the targeting icons shifted from green to amber. An aide stood abruptly. Strategist, our perimeter array is reporting authentication conflicts. Conflicts? Varric snapped. Yes, sir. Administrative authority is duplicating. The chamber temperature seemed to drop. Nathan finally lifted his wrist. The comband glowed faintly, soft blue, steady. I told you, he said evenly. I came to understand your command structure. Varric rose from his seat. You were searched. Yes. No weapons were found. That's correct. Another console beeped sharply. A Dominion Fleet Group, 2nd Spear Division, shifted position on the map without command input. What is that? Varric demanded. An officer swallowed. Remote override ping detected. From where? The officer hesitated. From within this chamber. Every Dominion guard tightened their grip on their weapons. Nathan did not move. You mistake infiltration for aggression, he said quietly. This is neither. Varric descended the steps toward him. You dare compromise Dominion military networks inside my command hall. Nathan met his gaze steadily. You broadcast my son's execution from this facility. The words did not rise in volume. They didn't need to. Silence rippled outward. Another alert chimed. This time it was not subtle. Outer defense array offline, an aide announced. What? Varric barked. Control authority has been transferred to external oversight. Whose oversight? The answer came from 3 consoles at once. Earth. The chamber erupted into overlapping voices. Impossible. Our encryption is sovereign. No foreign system has clearance. Nathan raised one hand slightly. The noise died faster than it should have. You opened your networks during the broadcast, he said. Varric's eyes narrowed. That was a controlled media feed. Yes, Nathan replied. With full command-level authentication. A realization began to spread, slow and sickening. The VIP balcony. The visible officer insignias. The biometric access panels in the background of the arena feed. The command uplink signatures embedded in the live transmission. They had broadcast more than spectacle. They had broadcast their hierarchy. You mapped us, Varric said quietly. Nathan nodded once. You categorized us, he corrected. Another alert pulsed red. Shipyard control nodes desynchronized. Planetary defense grids awaiting manual authorization. Strategist, we are being sandboxed. Varric turned sharply. Define that. Our systems are not destroyed. They are isolated. Compartmentalized. Nathan's voice remained calm. We are not attacking your civilians. A wide projection filled the chamber walls. Dominion fleet deployments faded. Replaced by clean, precise overlays. Human fleet trajectories. Not massed. Not charging. Positioned. Strategically placed at logistical choke points. At power relays. At communication hubs. Every Dominion warship had a corresponding human vessel assigned to it. Every command relay had a mirrored override path. You came alone, Varric said slowly. No, Nathan replied. I came first. The chamber doors suddenly emitted a low mechanical hum. Several Dominion officers rushed toward them. The doors did not open. Strategist, internal lock engaged. By whom? Unknown. Nathan's comband glowed brighter for half a second. By consequence, he said. Varric stepped closer until he stood only a few meters away. You cannot leave this chamber alive, Varric hissed. Nathan's expression did not change. If I die, he said evenly, your entire military network shifts from containment to deconstruction. Silence fell like gravity. Varric searched his face for hesitation. There was none. You would sacrifice yourself? Varric asked. Nathan's eyes hardened for the first time. You sacrificed my son for sport. Another alert chimed. Strategist, fleet targeting systems are no longer responding to Dominion command input. Can we fire? No. Can we move? Only along approved corridors. Approved by whom? The officer hesitated. Human oversight. The war room, symbol of Dominion supremacy, no longer obeyed Dominion authority. Nathan looked up at the rotating projection. You believe power is dominance, he said quietly. You are wrong. Varek's voice was tight. Then what is it? Nathan's answer came without pause. Control. He tapped the table once. The hologram zoomed inward, showing the arena structure where Elias had died. A red marker blinked over it. Your military institution enabled that broadcast, Nathan said. The institution ends today. Around the chamber, Dominion officers stared at their dead consoles. Their fleet still existed. Their ships were intact. Their cities unharmed. But command no longer belonged to them. For the first time since the Dominion began conquering neighboring systems, they were not the apex force in the room. And they were locked inside it. Nathan stood alone at the center of the war chamber. Unarmed. Outnumbered. Completely in control. You laughed, he said softly. No one laughed now. No one moved. The Dominion war room, once the center of military dominance across 3 sectors, had become a sealed chamber of silence. Command consoles glowed but did not obey. Fleet maps rotated but did not respond. Weapons platforms existed, but awaited authorization from somewhere else. From someone else. At the center of it all stood Commander Nathan Rowan. Unarmed. Still. In control. High Strategist Varek Tolis descended the final step toward him. You cannot maintain this, Varek said, voice low but steady. Our encryption will isolate your intrusion. Nathan shook his head once. I'm not intruding. A subtle gesture toward the holographic display. I'm restructuring. One of the Dominion officers at the upper tier shouted down. Strategist, external command channels confirm human fleet presence at 7 logistics hubs. Engagement range. Varek demanded. They are holding position. Are weapons powered? Yes. Are they firing? No. The word echoed differently than it should have. Nathan spoke calmly. We are not here to annihilate you. Varek turned back toward him sharply. You dismantle our command authority and claim restraint. Yes. Another alert chimed. Strategist, shipyard control nodes have been reassigned to civilian oversight channels. What? Varek snapped. Military authorization removed. Civilian administrative codes now required for deployment. A murmur spread through the chamber. That was not attack. That was structural alteration. Nathan folded his hands behind his back. You abducted a civilian miner under diplomatic cover, he said. You institutionalized spectacle violence. You broadcast it from your central command complex. Varek's eyes burned. It was lawful. Nathan's gaze sharpened. Lawful under a system you designed. Silence pressed inward. Another projection flared to life. Dominion governance structure. Military chain of command highlighted in red. Nathan tapped once. The red lines fractured. Redistributed into dozens of smaller nodes. Your power is centralized, Nathan said quietly. That makes it efficient. It also makes it fragile. Varek's mandibles flexed. You presume to lecture us on governance? No. Nathan met his eyes steadily. I am correcting it. The chamber doors emitted another low mechanical lock confirmation. Dominion internal security attempted override. Denied. Strategist, an aide whispered urgently, external communications confirm our fleets are unable to target Earth vessels. Firing protocols are sandboxed. Can we target civilian sectors? Varek demanded. No. Why? Human code has rewritten engagement permissions. A long silence followed. Nathan did not smile. He did not gloat. He simply watched them process it. We studied your networks after the broadcast, he said. We mapped redundancies. We identified choke points. We inserted silent observers. Varek's voice lowered. For how long? Nathan answered without hesitation. Since minute 3 of the arena fight. The weight of that statement settled across the room. While Elias was still alive, Nathan had begun calculating. You weaponized grief, Varric said. Nathan's eyes hardened. No. He stepped forward slightly. I removed unpredictability. The hologram shifted again. Dominion fleet simulations appeared. 2 projections ran side by side. Left, Dominion resistance. Outcome, complete infrastructure collapse within 72 hours. Right, Dominion compliance. Outcome, military decentralization, cultural reform mandates, continued territorial sovereignty. Nathan let the projections run in silence. No explosions. No planetary bombardments. Just systematic removal of military dominance. You give us terms, Varric said slowly. Yes. You believe we will accept humiliation. Nathan's voice remained calm. This is not humiliation. He gestured toward the arena structure again. That was. The word hung heavy in the air. You dismantle the military branch responsible for arena acquisition operations, Nathan continued. You transfer oversight of cultural enforcement to civilian councils. You outlaw species-based combat exhibitions. And if we refuse? Varric asked. Nathan's expression did not change. You collapse. No anger. No raised voice. Just certainty. Another alert chimed. Strategist, outer sector commanders requesting authorization. They report loss of independent navigation control. Varric's breathing slowed. Commander Rowan, he said carefully, if I order your execution, what happens? Nathan answered immediately. My biometrics trigger Phase 2. And Phase 2 is? Permanent fleet disassembly. Silence. Not a bluff. Varric could see it in his posture. This was not vengeance. It was pre-written protocol. You would cripple an empire for one death, Varric said. Nathan's voice remained steady. You crippled your own empire the moment you made cruelty entertainment. The word struck harder than any threat. Another officer spoke hesitantly. Strategist, civilian sectors are already broadcasting awareness of military override. Public channels are demanding explanation. The chamber felt smaller. The Dominion military machine, designed for expansion and dominance, had no protocol for this. No enemy fleet to crush. No territory to seize. Only internal restructuring under external control. Varric looked around the chamber. At his officers. At their dead consoles. At the humans standing calmly in the center of their power structure. You came alone, Varric said again. Nathan shook his head once. No. He looked upward at the projection of human fleet positions. I came prepared. The silence stretched. Long enough for every officer in the chamber to understand what refusal meant. Not annihilation. Not genocide. Obsolescence. Varric finally spoke. What assurance do we have that humanity will not exploit this? Nathan's answer came instantly. You don't. The honesty startled the room. But we do not require your submission, Nathan continued. We require your evolution. Another pause. Then Varric did something no Dominion high strategist had done in recorded history. He turned toward his command console and began entering authorization codes. Military command authority began transferring. Node by node. From centralized Dominion war control to civilian oversight councils. The arena division designation flickered. Then went dark. Around the chamber, other officers slowly followed suit. Because they understood something now. The human had not come to conquer them. He had come to make conquest impossible. Nathan stood silently as the Dominion war machine dismantled itself. Not in fire. Not in chaos. In compliance. When the final authorization completed, the chamber doors unlocked with a soft mechanical release. Nathan looked at Varric one last time. You will survive this, he said. Varric's voice was quieter now. And if we revert? Nathan's eyes held no warmth. We will not need to walk into your war room twice. Then he turned toward the exit. Alone. leaving behind an empire that would never again mistake spectacle for strength. The Dominion war room was quieter than it had ever been. Not because it had been damaged. Because it had been altered. The great central hologram still rotated above the chamber floor, but the red military authority lines were gone. In their place were layered civilian oversight markers, distributed governance nodes, decentralized fleet permissions. The empire still existed. It simply no longer answered to a single war command. High strategist Varric Tolis stood at the central console long after Commander Nathan Rowan had departed. No alarms. No human fleets advancing. No bombardments. Earth's vessels remained in position for exactly 6 hours after compliance confirmation. Then, one by one, they withdrew beyond Dominion space. Clean. Orderly. Professional. That unsettled Varric more than invasion would have. Because conquerors take trophies. Humans had taken nothing. Except the ability to repeat what happened in the arena. Across Dominion territory, public channels erupted. Military command logs leaked. The arena division's abolition went viral within hours. Civilian councils, long symbolic, suddenly had binding authority. Species previously categorized as demonstration stock were reclassified under protected sentient accords. The shift was not chaotic. It was surgical. And at the center of it all was a single undeniable truth. A human had walked into the Dominion's most secure war chamber. And left it changed. Back aboard the ERV Resolute, Nathan stood alone in the observation deck as Dominion space shrank behind them. An officer approached cautiously. "Sir." Dominion fleet posture remains neutral. "No pursuit." Nathan nodded once. "Good. They've transmitted acknowledgement of reform compliance." Nathan did not respond immediately. He was watching the stars. "Sir," the officer hesitated. "With respect, why didn't we collapse their military entirely?" Nathan's reflection in the viewport looked older than it had days ago. "Because collapse creates resentment," he said quietly. "And resentment becomes repetition." The officer swallowed. "So this was justice?" Nathan's jaw tightened briefly. "No." He turned slightly. "This was prevention." Within weeks, the story spread beyond Dominion territory. Other empires requested clarification. Human diplomatic channels responded with a simple, unclassified summary. Earth does not tolerate civilian predation under the guise of culture. Military institutions that enable spectacle cruelty will be dismantled. No threats. No ultimatums. Just a record of what had already happened. Military analysts across 3 sectors replayed the event repeatedly. The key detail was not the cyber infiltration. Not the fleet positioning. Not even the network override. It was the timing. Commander Nathan Rowan had initiated system mapping while his son was still alive. There had been no emotional delay. No paralysis. Grief had not clouded him. It had focused him. That realization unsettled every strategic council that studied the case. Because it meant something dangerous. Humans did not lash out. They calculated. In a private Dominion archive chamber, Varric reviewed the arena broadcast one final time. The moment of laughter. The moment of death. The moment he had leaned forward in mild curiosity. He paused the recording. Zoomed in. He saw now what he had missed before. Not weakness. Not fear. But endurance. He closed the file. The arena complex was scheduled for demolition within the week. Months later, the first Interstellar Reform Summit convened. Dominion representatives sat alongside species they once classified as lesser. Human observers did not dominate the room. They did not need to. The memory did that. A new interstellar principle was codified. It was simple. It spread quickly. It did not reference Earth by name. But everyone knew its origin. Civilian harm as spectacle constitutes military forfeiture. Across the galaxy, arenas were shut down. Cultural combat divisions quietly dissolved. Inspection protocols were rewritten. And in classified strategic briefings, one additional advisory line circulated among high command circles. Do not mistake human restraint for lack of capacity. On Earth, Nathan Rowan returned to his apartment. The screen where he had watched the broadcast remained off. He did not turn it on. There were no celebrations waiting for him. No public commendations. The mission had never been about pride. He stood in the quiet room for a long time. Then he placed Elias's identification tag on the table beside him. Not as a symbol of revenge. As a reminder. Humanity did not endure through dominance. It endured through correction. When they lost something, they did not scream into the void. They changed the rules of the game. Across the stars, the Dominion still stood. Stronger, in some ways. Less cruel. More cautious. And every time a military council anywhere considered turning suffering into entertainment, they remembered a single image. A lone human standing in the center of a war room. Unarmed. Unafraid. Certain. The galaxy learned something that day. Not that humans were violent. Not that they were unstoppable. But that when you harm one of theirs, you are not starting a war. You are inviting a redesign. And redesign is permanent.